Is it possible to retire early? Like instead of your 60s, could you do it in your 50s, your 40s? Heck, is even 30s possible? Well, I did it when I was 26 years old. I followed a very specific game plan. And you know what? I don't think it's realistic for most people, but I do think it's possible for a lot of people to retire in their 30s as long as they have the right game plan. I'm up here in my home. There's a multi-million-dollar home sitting in this beautiful gated neighborhood. I ride on my private jet. I travel the world. I'm living the most amazing life because of the information that I'm about to share with you. Let's talk about it.
One shot, now the future is yours. Go! I'm turning dreams into reality. Yeah, it's one shot, now the future is yours. Go!
All right, I've got a tall order to fill because today we're talking about how to retire in your 30s. There's a lot of people who are like, dude, that's impossible. You can't do that. And I'm going to tell you right now that your thinking is going to determine outcomes. So if you think that this isn't possible and that's your curiosity for watching the video, you're right. But if you actually think that it's possible, if you can leave room, plant a seed for the possibility that there is a way, well, then you're really going to enjoy today's video because I promise you that it's possible, and not just for a really small percentage. I think that I'm about to give you a real game plan on how this could be real for literally at least half the population. And the answer really comes down to this. How much money do you think you're going to need at retirement? Everyone needs a different amount of money to retire. For example, singles with a minimalistic lifestyle may only need $50,000 a year to get by, but maybe a couple with 5 kids who enjoy traveling, maybe they need $250,000 a year to support their lifestyle. Either way, for most people, their desired retirement lifestyle is going to be achievable by their 30s, if not earlier, based on the information that I'm going to share with you today. Now, for this to be realistic, we do need to alter some of your assumptions that society has thrust upon you, maybe parents, financial planners, bosses, coworkers, friends. And it's this idea that you can accumulate yourself to freedom, right? Like I can just stash enough in a 401k or an IRA and I'm going to be set. The math does not support that. Really, you have to let money work for you. Retirement becomes possible at any age when your passive income exceeds your expenses. Let's pause on that for just a second. Let's just say that my expenses are $50,000 a year. If I have money working for me and I have investments and they're spinning off $50,000 a year without me needing to perform any kind of work, well, my passive income now equals my expenses. And that's when retirement really becomes possible. Now, assuming 5% yearly stock gains, you can determine how much you're going to need to save to generate your required income by dividing your desired annual retirement income by 4%. For example, let's say that you wanted to retire on $100,000 a year. That means every year, automatically $100,000 comes in my bank or $8,000 a month. Well, you can calculate that $100,000 goal, divide it by 0.04, and it's going to tell you that you're going to need $2.5 million. Now, let me break that down for you. If we reverse engineer the math we just did there and I put $2.5 million in my calculator and say, okay, let's just say that I'm earning 4% off of that $2.5 million. So I'm going to times that by 0.04. There, boom, I get it. I get my $100,000 every single year. This is assuming that if you can save up $2.5 million and place it somewhere that spins off 4% a year, that you could have that $100,000. Now, that's the math. And right now you're looking at that and you might be thinking, Kris, how the crap am I going to get $2.5 million? Now, let's get clear on something right away. If you put your money in a 401k or an IRA or types of index funds financially, those things are designed to spin off 3, 4, 5, 6% a year. And if that's how you're planning on accumulating money, it's not going to accumulate to $2.5 million by the time you retire. Remember, we're talking about accelerating things. We're talking about you actually retiring in your 30s. So you're going to have to leave that game plan, and you're even going to have to leave Dave Ramsey thinking, which means, oh, be out of debt and pay everything off. That's an accumulation mindset, and it's the slowest path, and most people will never financially get to where they want to be, let alone $2.5 million spending off $100,000 a year. We're going to have to think of how to make money work different for us, and that means we're going to have to tap into a different system. That's what I'm going to give you right now, and there are 3 parts to it. Here's the first way that I want you to think different. I'm going to use this word hustle. because you're going to have to scoot your booty and move it a little bit differently. In order to reach $2.5 million or whatever your goal is, there are a few simple steps to take. And before you can start saving, you have to earn enough money in abundance. Like I love telling people, evaluate your career and just ask, like, are you being paid well enough where you can save aggressively? If not, you might need to reevaluate your method for even making money, right? Because if you're not currently making enough to set aside $50,000 a year, you should be looking for a hustle on the side, a business. You got to think outside the box and ask, geez, Kris, you're telling me that for all this to work, I need to save $50,000 a year. Doesn't the average person make like $50,000 a year coming out of college? And the answer is yes. So I need you to rethink your life's choices up into this moment and ask, is there a career for me that I can get into, or am I currently in one where I have the ability to save tens of thousands of dollars a year? The reason why that's going to be important is because to accumulate $2.5 million, we need to invest that money. And there will be nothing to invest if you first don't save money. And there's nothing to save unless you have a good paying career. If you don't know how to save an extra $50,000 a year, make sure you're a subscriber here on any of my social media, because I'm constantly dropping gold nuggets on how you make that possible. Now, if you've got a career where you can save aggressively, the second step, cutting expenses. As in, like the first 5 years of me saving and aggressively investing, I didn't own a single nice thing. Literally, the very first house I lived in that I bought could have literally fit in this room right here. Parkinson's law states that expenses will always increase in proportion to your income growth. Basically, if you make $50,000 a year, you're probably spending $45,000 to $55,000. That's usually plus or minus 10%. If you make $150,000, or maybe you're a doctor or a lawyer, you're making $250,000, you're probably spending $225,000 to $275,000 a year, and this is what you need to avoid. Rather than spending these earnings, the best investors know how to live below their means, cutting expenses, and initially delaying gratification. In other words, what I'm telling you is not to go without for no purpose at all. I don't want you to become some reckless penny pincher that is always trying to save a penny and financially hates life, living in fear and scarcity. What I'm telling you is to do this by way of strategy. You see, during those first 5 years that I didn't live off of anything super nice, guess what I was doing while I was counting my pennies and saving as much as possible? I was investing it. And it is my money invested that set me free. It's my money invested by the age of 26 that made me financially free, which is why you're now going to need the third step. The third step, high yield investments. Rather than 401ks and IRAs, you're going to have to think different about money. You've been trained to think that as long as your money is earning only 3, 4, 5%, it must be safe because you're not taking on risk. That's the flaw. That's the reason why people are financially broke in retirement, because they didn't take risks. What you need to do is learn how to take calculated risks that are smart, because a higher ROI, meaning a higher return on investment, doesn't mean you took on more risk. It means that you did something different than a lot of other people do. Even if you're able to save this $50,000 a year, it would still take 50 years to save up $2.5 million. However, if you were to save $50,000 a year and invest it in real estate earning 25% annual ROI or return on investment, it would only take 11 years to earn $2.7 million. In other words, real estate at 25% means that you can get there in a fifth of the time. You can shave 40 years off of the experience. How is that even possible? And can real estate really produce 25% ROIs? Think about owning real estate. Imagine that you're renting it out, but you're not the landlord. You have someone else managing all that. You have someone else living in the home that is now working on paying it off, because every mortgage payment they make is actually lowering what you owe to the bank. Meanwhile, real estate has a lifelong history of only going up in value, especially if you buy the right kind of real estate. So on average, it's appreciating. Someone else is paying it down. The government is giving you tax breaks, so all the leftover money every month after the mortgage, the positive cash flow is tax-free, and you get to depreciate it so you don't have to pay taxes on a lot of other money as well, potentially. Well, there are several benefits to investing in real estate, and when you add all those benefits together, can you get it producing 25% annual ROI? Well, for me, I average closer to 30 to 40%. That means that my money is doubling now every other year. And if you do the math on that, A single investment property, literally in 20 years, can turn into $17 million. Crazy when you think about it. And it all comes down to this. High yield investments is the secret. Earning these type of ROIs are the secrets. Real estate is just one way of doing it, but guess what? It's a good, predictable way of achieving this. So here's the bottom line lesson. The younger you start, the more you can have compound interest actually working for you in your favor. By making sacrifices in the short term, you not only retire in your 30s, but you also continuously build wealth to pass on to future generations. Like for me, I achieved that a long time ago. What have I been doing in the meantime? Well, in the beginning, financial freedom came with 25 homes. That was thousands of homes ago. So what I'm doing right now is I have a foundation that is passing on my wealth to people all over the world. We're raising money. We're doing really cool mission trips. We're helping people in need. I've got time as a father to spend a lot of time with my kids doing cool stuff that most parents don't get to do. I get to travel with them all around the world. I get to give them exposure to the kind of education I think that any parent would want to be able to give their kid. Like my life is filled with options because I started young. I got it done young, and then it kept on building, it kept on growing. But guess what? My time gets to be used whichever way I deem best, and that can be true for you too. Now, if you don't have a game plan to achieve your financial freedom in your 30s, then by all means get one, and I'm offering to give you one for free. Literally, in the link below, you can fill out your information and say, hey, I want to talk to Kris or one of his people, and I want them to show me how I achieve financial freedom at a really young age. Now, they can give you a game plan to get there in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. They'll show you the way. It's up to you to determine what path you want to choose and what will work best for you. But this is what I can tell you. If you pursue financial freedom in your youth, then when most people are in their 40s, 50s, and 60s working because they have to in a broken financial model that doesn't work, you're going to be off living a whole different life. You have so many amazing options, and you get to choose right now. Which life are you committed to living? Do you want to do the one that society's teed up for you? Because I can tell you right now, 85% of people hate that life. And I'm also here to tell you that that doesn't have to be yours. Click the link below. Let me get you a game plan with one of my trained people on my team, one of my coaches, and let me show you how to do it sooner. This is $50,000. And if you watch today's video and you're thinking, Kris, I'm not currently in a position to save $50,000 a year, I get it. I didn't have that kind of money in the beginning either. In fact, with less than $5,000, I house hacked myself to $1 million. I literally became a millionaire with less than $5,000. And if you want to know how I did it, watch this video right here and let me show you.